All right, I'm currently on the line with Cole Jackson. He's another musician that reached out about the current interview session. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Kohl Jackson, better known as Little Bisket. I'm a college student from Oklahoma. I make all types of hip hop and rap songs for you guys to check out, and a few more coming out pretty soon.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you for joining me. So let's go ahead and get into kind of some of the details about how this all started for you. Tell me when you kind of first encountered music and what about it kind of opened you up to wanting to pursue it?
Well, I'm pretty relatively new to it. I started writing songs about a year and a half ago. Growing up, I would have never thought that I'd someday be working on making songs. My main goal always growing up was to be a stand-up comedian. That was always my big plan. I performed a few times doing that, festivals, open mics, that kind of thing. But always at the root of it, I've always wanted to be a performer and entertainer. I believe that's where I've been called. So making the transition to music was pretty easy for me because I basically just kind of transferred some of my thoughts that I had put out for my jokes and stuff like that and put it towards music. Some of my music's pretty lighthearted. I have some that are more serious. But the really main thing is just kind of getting my thoughts out and just putting it into on beats and putting it out for the public to hear. And I just really like it because it's very therapeutic for me. I like getting my thoughts out and kind of sharing that with others.
Awesome. Very cool. So tell me about how you kind of began the process. Once you kind of decided you were going to transition away from like the stand-up comedy and then start focusing on music, did you start learning like how to, program beats and things like that? Or did you go the instrument route? Give me a bit of details about that.
So with the stand-up comedy, and I still do stand-up, but during that time, I kind of picked up a few things along the way when I was kind of bored with my free time. I started learning how to play the automaton, which was a really goofy instrument to learn. I learned a little bit of the recorder and stuff like that. I never took any like specific music theory or anything like that. But I think when I started developing my skills in those couple things, and I just kind of started playing around with music, I think that kind of ended up later inspiring me to kind of dip more into that. So I haven't learned quite yet how to produce beats or anything like that yet. I've been having to work with some people. Shout out to Amelia Staggs. She's helped me with as far as mixing and audio and stuff like that. Actual beats I've just kind of found online a lot for the most part. I've started working with a guy called Breck Beats. That's for my new song coming out. I'm excited for that. And but I really just started kind of more lyrics wise. I learned more. I wanted to kind of focus on vocals. Amelia helped me out a lot with getting the vocal part of it because I never didn't have a singing background or anything like that. So she kind of helped me get better at knowing how to breathe better in a lot of my songs. For one thing, that's kind of been something that I've had to get a lot better at, especially if I perform live. Being able to get all the words out that I need. And but I've been kind of just growing in my learning of it. I tried kind of learning how to I'll use Soundtrap for a little bit, which is where I was kind of basically putting my beats on there and then kind of splicing in my audio. Didn't sound like amazing, but it was kind of like where I started at. But now I get in the studio on my campus and I'll just put my songs out that I'll make the lyrics and everything and kind of time it up with the beat. And then I'll come in here in the studio with Amelia, and then we'll just have a little session and try to put out what we can.
Okay, so you're kind of working with a producer to put beats together while you kind of work on the actual kind of lyrical content of it.
Yes, yeah, for the most part. I would like to learn some more instruments. I'm wanting to kind of dive more into that. I just don't have a ton of music background, but I'm trying to actually kind of get into that more. I plan on maybe during the summer trying to learn a little bit more of the producer aspect of it, but yeah.
Okay. So help me understand a bit further about like the motivation for it. You mentioned that, you kind of want to become kind of a storytelling type person and then putting that content into your lyrics and stuff. But what do you feel is kind of your grander calling towards transitioning into music and making music?
My main message is pretty much the same as it's been for comedy. And as I'm kind of growing in both of them, my main message has always kind of just been like, people should just try new things and don't be afraid of like what people think, because at the end of the day, you kind of just like, you have to live with yourself 24/7. So it's best to be real and genuine. And you'll notice a lot of my lyrics and my songs, and when I perform on stage, a lot of my comedy jokes are just being very raw and just real about who I actually am. And I'm not ashamed of like some of the flaws. Like, I'm fine with that. I even got a lyric in one of them where I basically talk about the acne on my face and the glasses I got. And that's just part of life. There's nothing wrong with that. And so I just want people to kind of embrace the flaws. And so like that's kind of just been a main thing, and just being able to make people's days happier. I really like when I perform, just kind of being able to put a smile on people's face, even if it's just for a little bit, or even if it just doesn't even go that well. I mean, there's been times I've performed where just like, it kind of bombed a little bit, but like at least I tried to kind of put it out there. And I think long term, it really like affects people's lives and their days, and they can kind of spread that to the people around them.
Sure. Okay. So your main focus is kind of connecting with people and then showing them that things don't have to be taken too seriously. You can still kind of apply yourself and maintain kind of the levity of the situation.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. So tell me about how that has kind of progressed into you working on music. What sort of material are you working on, and what have you put out?
Right now I have an album out, and the single I put out before the album. The first single I put out was called Risk It, and it's about what you just assume, risk it for the biscuit. That's like the main chorus pretty much. And over time, I've just kind of like progressively grown in kind of that theme a lot. Now, a lot of them are goofy, like I said, but like I got one called Middle Class Boy that was like an early one I worked on that I really liked. And I wrote those lyrics for that when I was working at a Love's gas station during last summer. And it was just basically just make me kind of recounting my life about what it's like being just a middle class average guy, basically just kind of just living in a small town. And just kind of making fun of that. I got one called Hocus Pocus. That's like one of the classics. It's a really old one. That's like one of the first ones. That one, actually, I found a couple loops on that beat, some free loops that were available, and I basically just put them together. So I kind of worked on that one a little bit, and that ended up sounding pretty good on the beat. I really like that one. But that one's basically me just not having money. And then I got one called Not Him, which has actually a music video out on YouTube. And I filmed that with a buddy on campus. His name's Zane Bennett, and he helped me film it. And that's just another one where it's a lot of rappers kind of go out there and like the first thing they say is like, "Oh, I'm him," and like this is what I got, and these are all the things that kind of flex. Mine's kind of always kind of the reverse of it. Now the new song I got coming out is a little bit of kind of like a joke on a little bit more of me being a little bit more like, now I'm progressing a little bit. But I still always have that theme of kind of just making fun of kind of like who I am, and just kind of embracing it. So, and a lot of it's based on true stories and stuff. Like I talk about in Middle Class Boy about how I had to like cut onions in the gas station. And I got a bunch of other fun songs. I got one called Kenny Pickett, and that's one's based on, I had this realization one day with a conversation with some guys that like I kind of look like Kenny Pickett, the football player. And so I got a line in there that I'm a discount Kenny Pickett, and so that it's just all based on conversation and just like funny observations and stuff like that. But the new song coming out, it's called 20, and it's basically kind of more me transitioning to quicker rap. I'm kind of trying to get better at being able to do vocals and stuff like that. And I just turned 20 recently. So it's kind of, I wrote it around the time I turned 20, and it's basically going to be kind of talking about, now that I'm 20, this is what I got. This is where I'm at, basically.
Okay. And so you mentioned that you have been able to get out and perform live. I'm not familiar with the Oklahoma music scene, so tell me about what opportunities and have existed for you and what shows you've been able to do.
Yeah. I will say there's not a ton. There is opportunities for sure. When I started out in comedy, that was a lot of open mics. I would kind of see what I could find. I even did one at a church. There's a church at open mic. There's a festival. There's like a folk life festival I was at one time, and I performed there. That wasn't the move. There's like barely anybody there, but I performed anyway because I thought it'd be fun. But it's a lot of festivals and things like that. Those were kind of where I started. Now it's like now that I'm on campus, and I actually since I recently started making music, I've performed comedy here on campus also, but I haven't got a ton of opportunity yet to do my music. People have been wanting it. But I got to do an audition for a show that had I didn't get put in the show, but I got the audition and I got to perform in front of a few people, and that turned out pretty good. But usually it's like the open mics or whatever I can find around nearby. But college campus makes it a lot easier because there's a lot of opportunities to be able to kind of perform in different shows that they put on campus.
Sure, and I suppose they have kind of their exploratory arts programs as well.
Yeah, they got a lot of stuff like that, and if I really wanted to, I can also like we got like Oklahoma City has a lot of different like places where they'll have open mics and things like that to perform if you want to do something like that. I haven't got a chance to really look into them a whole lot. I plan on doing that hopefully pretty soon, but.
All right, cool. Well, so tell me about a couple of those shows or other shows you've been to that have had an impact on you that keep you motivated to continue pursuing this life.
Oh yeah, I can tell you one for sure. One of the early ones I did, I think it was probably 2 or 3 years into comedy. Uh, I performed over at that church, and it was in my hometown, and it was the first time I'd ever actually performed anything in my hometown, and that was one of my best performances that I've ever had, and like people were loving it and enjoyed it a lot. I'd love to at some point go maybe do some music down there too, but it's a very small town. I grew up in a town with 2,000 people in it, so very very small area, and it kept me grounded because it just reminds me of like where I came from, and like if it does end up ever being a successful thing, like I'll definitely remember like those are my roots, and that's kind of where I feel most connected. And yeah, that was a great performance. Another one when I did music, um, like when I said I got to do the audition. That one was a great audition. That was a fun time. I got people really into it. People were kind of cheering and stuff, and I enjoyed that a lot. And just the times that my music has been played has been great too. That just makes me excited to see when people actually are learning my lyrics and they just get to know my music. It just makes me feel so happy because it's like all the work I'm putting in is starting to kind of be recognized, and it's kind of built me a little bit of a kind of a reputation on campus. People kind of know a little bit more of who I am, and I'm just excited to keep pursuing it.
Excellent. That's great. All right. So you mentioned you've got stuff coming out. Where can people find you and follow you?
So if you want to find me on Spotify, it's Lil Bisket, and it's spelled a little weird. It's spelled Lil and then Bisket. I spelled it differently on purpose because I want to kind of stand out and be different, because that's just kind of my whole theme is kind of being different. And also like my name spelled weird, spelled Kohl. So it's kind of like just I wanted to kind of incorporate a K in there somewhere. But it's the same for on TikTok. I just recently made one. I haven't put any posts out yet, but I will be very soon. That is, I believe, at Lil Biscuit Official. And then also YouTube. You can find me under the same thing, Lil Biscuit. Instagram, if you want to find me, is Kohl's Cash Unlimited, Kohl. And but yeah, I plan on putting most of my Lil Biscuit content. It's probably going to be on TikTok, YouTube, that kind of thing, and Spotify.
Perfect. All right. So I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So what's a message that you have that you want to share with other people?
My main message is just follow your dreams, follow your goal, your passion, whatever you feel that you've been called to do. I feel like God's called me to go and perform for others, entertain, put out songs, make people happy, laugh, all that stuff. Do what you feel called to do. Pursue it, even if people don't, necessarily support you in that. I've had a lot of support, but there's also been some times where people haven't always supported me. So no matter what, don't put anything in the way of following what your plan is and your dream. And I just hope that my music can inspire people to do that. Check out the new song on April 16th, coming out pretty soon, called 20. And I really hope y'all guys like it.